Good morning, guys. Happy Friday. Today we are going to kick off a new series. We've sort of been building up to this, and I've had a lot of interest in this. We're going to talk about love and relationships. And this isn't a therapy thing specifically, but this is a topic that comes up in therapy repeatedly. So it's not about any particular mental disorder or psychological disorder or anything like that. Anybody can have relationship problems. Anybody can have, difficulty with love and romance and romantic relationships, whether or not you are suffering from a mental illness, whatever the case may be. It's sort of the universal for everybody. I mean, it would be almost impossible to find somebody who, has never been in a relationship of some sort, or who hasn't had a relationship problem or had issues with romantic love and romantic relationships. So we're going to start a series. I don't know how long the series will be. I'm not sure how many videos or episodes it's going to be. We're just going to let it flow. I'll try to keep each one sort of short and manageable for you guys, but let's dive into it. Okay. So, love and relationships. Humans, and not just humans, most animals, honestly, are biologically hardwired to pair up and to seek out others for companionship, for love, for sex. It's just a fundamental part of who we are. It's just ingrained in our biology, our DNA, our brains. We seek others. We seek to partner up. It's just the way it is. Now, partner up might mean something different to different people. For some people, that's a long-term relationship, maybe, a lifelong relationship. And for some people, that partnering up is brief encounters. But whatever the case is, we crave connection with other people, even the most introverted of us. And hey, I'm a big introvert. I told you guys I was going to be real honest about myself in these videos. I'm a tremendous introvert, but still I crave connection with other people. So, it's just a fact of who we are as humans. The downside, or the sad fact of it, is relationships are very difficult. I talked about, animals, they kind of make it look easy. They just, partner up, and it doesn't seem like, there's that much thought that has to go into it. It's more on a biological level. But with us humans, our brains get in the way a lot of times. And it's just difficult. Relationships are not easy, even when you look at really long-term relationships. And you can still look around nowadays and see couples that have maybe been married for 20, 30 years. And most of them will tell you that it's really hard. They might make it look easy, but it's not. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of work and effort that goes into those really long-term relationships. So love and relationships are something that we crave. They're something that we want, but they are maybe the most difficult thing that we do as humans in our lifetime, trying to find these attachments and form these attachments and foster these attachments. And so much can go wrong along the way. So we're going to talk a lot about the things that go wrong, why they might go wrong, and what do we need to do about it when they do? How do we break some of these negative relationship cycles? So I'm going to start with, I'm just going to bring out the big guns here. This is the problem that I see most often in people who come to me in therapy, in people who come to me in private. People just, excuse me, my nose is itching. People who just come to me by whatever means, who are having relationship issues. This is the single biggest issue that I see. It just is. I've even seen this in my own life and with friends and family, but this is very pervasive. Okay. The big problem that I see over and over again is that someone is in a relationship and there's a big problem with the relationship. There's something about the relationship that's not healthy. It's not bringing any happiness. In fact, it's causing a great deal of unhappiness. And in many cases, it's a toxic relationship. But the person is not willing to let go of this relationship no matter what. And I have seen, I'm not going to say this is always women, because I do see men in my practice and even in my personal life with family members and male friends. I have seen, the person that I'm referring to be a male, but overwhelmingly, a lot of times it's a female in a relationship. And this woman is really at a point, she's gotten to a point where she is willing to put up with anything to try to keep this relationship together and to try to make it work. And it's amazing, the things that people will put up with when they're so deep into one of these toxic, dysfunctional relationships. And a lot of times, it's things that early on in a relationship they would not have tolerated or put up with. No one would, quite frankly. But they're so deep into this relationship that they're willing to accommodate any kind of behavior to keep the relationship going. Now, there are some reasons for this. So let's talk about these reasons. One big reason, and I hear this over and over again, maybe this is the biggest reason, is the time that they have invested in the relationship. I'll see clients and they're telling me all these horrible dysfunctional things that are going on in the relationship, how miserable and unhappy it's making them. And when I say, well, why aren't you pulling the plug on this? Overwhelmingly, the answer is, but we've been together for 5 years, or, I've put 10 years into this, and, I've put so much effort and energy into this relationship. So overwhelmingly, that is one of the biggest factors why people continue to hold on and hang on to relationships that, quite frankly, need to be ended. The other thing that is a big thing is for people with kids. A lot of times women will say, or even men will say, whoever it is will say, well, we've got kids together, or we have a child together. And I understand that desire to keep your family together, and most people feel very strongly that it is best for the children if you stay together no matter what. And, I've told you guys from the beginning, this channel and the things that I talk about on here, these are my opinions, okay? These are my professional opinions and my personal opinions, okay? I'm a professional person, but I'm a person, okay? I'm a 44-year-old woman who's been married 3 times, divorced twice. I've got a lot of relationship experience. I have a lot of real life, real world experience. And I'm also a licensed therapist who has seen, hundreds and hundreds of clients over the last several years. So, the opinions that I'm giving, these are my opinions. So come for me, don't come for me, disagree with me, whatever, that's fine. But I'm just putting this out there. Okay, so let me get off that soapbox for a second. I'm just trying to head some of this drama off at the pass. When people tell me, I've got to stay in this dysfunctional relationship because of the kids, I think that's a terrible idea. Okay. Now, I know there are so many people still today who think that you need to stay together for the kids no matter what, whether it's abusive, whether there's, alcoholism or substance abuse, or whether it's just completely toxic, just a toxic environment. There are still people today who would argue, well, tough, you've got to stick it out for the kids, or at least until the kids are grown. I disagree with that. I think that children who are being raised in a toxic home, in a toxic environment, and witnessing a toxic relationship on a daily basis are harmed more than they are helped by the family staying together. And one of the ways that I know that is because I'm a therapist who sees kids. And a lot of the kids that I see are not necessarily from broken homes. There's probably this connotation that, oh yeah, these kids end up with divorced parents and then they're going to end up in therapy because of it. Actually, that's not the case. I do occasionally see kids whose parents are divorced. Honestly, those kids are some of the more well-adjusted kids that I see. What I see that's more problematic are children whose parents are together and who have created a home life for those kids that is very dysfunctional, very chaotic. very unstable because of all the fighting, all the arguing, all the emotional warfare that's going on inside the home. It is so detrimental to kids. And those are the kids that I see in therapy who most often are suffering tremendously and who are not well adjusted and who are having serious problems and maybe even starting to act out in some big ways. And that's what's ended them up in therapy. So, pulling it back to the reasons why people stay in these toxic relationships: time invested, kids. Something else that I hear a lot is, well, we've been together so long, our families, are connected, and I'm close with their family and they're close with my family, and it would be such a disappointment. I think people feel that their families place expectations on them and on their relationships, and a lot of people do not want to let them down. They don't want to let their friends and family down because they feel that there's an expectation on them that they will, work it out, that they'll make it work, that they will keep this relationship together. So I'd say those are probably the top three: time invested, children, and then family expectations, familial expectations and obligations. Those are the reasons that I hear most often for staying in these situations. Now, I don't know how to change your mind about that, but I will say this. Life is really not that long, and none of us knows how long we have. Life is finite. And in my opinion, life is too short to be unhappy. It is too short to be miserable. And, one thing that I tell clients and friends and family members and anyone who's asking me for relationship advice is this: all this time and energy that you're investing in this relationship and in this person, it's a sunk cost, first of all. Now, a lot of you guys probably don't exactly know what a sunk cost is. That's an accounting term. A sunk cost is something that you have invested that you can't get back no matter what. Whether you keep the investment or let the investment go, the cost is gone. It can't be, you can't regain it. It can't be returned to you. It's sunk, basically. It's a sunk cost. So it should have no bearing on your decision going forward. When you're talking about assets, okay, this is, I'm using a financial term here, but when you're making a decision whether or not to keep an asset, the general rule in finance is that you don't consider what you've invested because that's gone. You've lost that no matter what you do. And I say the same thing for relationships. Whether you stay or whether you let it go, you've invested the time, you've invested the energy. You can't get any of that back, but it shouldn't have any bearing on how you move forward and how you proceed. Because do you really want to continue to invest time and energy, and potentially more sunk cost into a relationship that's making you unhappy, that's not productive, that's not going in the direction that you want it to go in? So that is a very big thing that I think people need to consider. The other thing that I often tell people is that while you are investing all this time and energy in a relationship that's obviously not right for you in some way, the love of your life might be out there trying to find you, and you're so busy, looking to this dysfunctional person that you're in this relationship with, trying to fix something that just doesn't seem to be able to be fixed, that the love of your life might be passing you by, or maybe you're passing them by. A lot of times people spend so much energy on dysfunction that they miss out on the good things in life. And I really hate to see that happen to anybody. I would like for people to put their energy and their efforts into positive things and things that are productive and things that will generate and create happiness. Buzzword, create happiness. Go back and check out some of my other videos where I talk about that. So people get stuck in these cycles. There's many reasons why they don't give it up, or they don't let it go, and they keep on, trying to make it work. The other thing to consider in all of this is, if you've been trying to fix things and work things out and make things work over and over and over again, and nothing changes, you got to read the signs. Not even signs. You've got to read the writing on the wall. You've got to take your head out of the sound. You really need to look around, not sound, sand. You got to take your head out of the sand. But you've really got to look around and really open your eyes and take stock of the status, the true status of your relationship, and what's going on with it. If all of your efforts are failing, and they have been for a long time, there's no reason to believe that things are suddenly going to start working and that things are suddenly going to get better. And look, I'm not vilifying anybody. Whoever your partner is in the relationship, maybe they're struggling with their own issues. It's not necessarily that they're a bad person or there's something nefarious going on. I mean, maybe they're struggling with some kind of issues of their own, and it's an impediment to making this relationship work. A lot of times, though, there is bad stuff going on. A lot of times, we get stuck in dysfunctional relationships with problematic people, and we just can't seem to get out of them. So I think you need to really open your eyes and be honest about that too. And there's such a mentality with some people of wanting to save someone or fix someone, but it's not your job to do that. It's not your job. It's not your duty, your responsibility to save or fix anybody. A relationship needs to be, two people working together in sync as partners, to create and generate happiness in that relationship. And if you have a partner that is not willing to do that with you, you've lost the battle already, whether or not you realize it. And you might have invested 10 years, but do you want to invest 20 or 30 in an unhappy relationship or an unhappy marriage? You've got to really ask yourself these tough questions. And how much better might your life and maybe your kids' lives be if you let this go and start to focus on building some real happiness in your life? So anyway, like I said, I wanted to keep this first video brief. This is just kind of touching on some topics, but we're gonna come back with a few more videos. I'd like to continue this discussion about love and relationships, and we'll talk a little more specifically about some various types of dysfunction and how to gauge whether or not maybe there is something to save, and then where do you go from there. So we're going to talk about some different things. I'm going to come back next week with another video or two on this topic. Don't forget, we've got a series going also about anxiety and anxiety disorders, so if you're interested in that, jump over to some of my other videos and check them out. So if this was helpful to you, please like and subscribe. If you're interested in more videos about mental health and wellness, life, love, relationships, all that good stuff, please subscribe so that you don't miss any of the videos. And if anybody has any comments or questions, please drop that down in the comments section. I would love to have some feedback if there's anything in particular about relationships or any mental health and wellness type things that you'd like to hear about. Please let me know. All right.